In 2009, a free-to-play game quietly launched, with no marketing machine, no massive publisher, and no clear future. It looked simple, even unfinished, and yet, within a few years, it became one of the most played games in the world. Not through spectacle, but through something else. Consistency, iteration, and understanding what players kept coming back for. So, how did League of Legends rise from a small experiment into a global phenomenon? Before League of Legends, there was a mod, Defense of the Ancients, built inside Warcraft III. It wasn't a traditional game. It had no campaign, no progression system, just one map, 2 teams, and a single objective. Players controlled one hero, fought alongside waves of AI units, and pushed toward the enemy base. Each match was self-contained, no carryover, no persistence, but within that structure, something unique emerged. Every match felt different, not because the rules changed, but because the players did. Different heroes, different strategies, different decisions. It was simple to understand, but endlessly replayable. So, what happens when you take that idea and build a full game around it? You don't just recreate it, you refine it. When League of Legends launched in 2009, it wasn't trying to be massive, it was trying to be accessible. The core idea stayed the same. 5 players versus 5 players. 3 lanes, 1 objective. But everything around it was simplified. No mod installation, no community setup, just download and play. That simplicity mattered, because for the first time, the genre was no longer hidden inside another game. It was standalone, and more importantly, it was free. But accessibility alone doesn't build a long-term game. So, what kept players coming back? Consistency. Unlike most games at the time, League of Legends didn't stay the same after launch. It evolved, constantly. New champions were added regularly. Balance changes came frequently. The game shifted, week by week. Not dramatically, but steadily. This created a different kind of relationship. Players weren't just playing a game, they were returning to something that was always slightly new. A familiar system with small, meaningful changes. And over time, the small changes started to stack. The game didn't just grow, it deepened. At its core, League of Legends is structured, predictable, even repetitive. 3 lanes, minions spawning every 30 seconds, objectives appearing on timers. And yet, no 2 matches feel the same, because within that structure, players create variation. A small mistake can decide an entire match. A single decision can shift momentum completely, and that tension between control and chaos became the core experience. But structure alone doesn't create identity. So, what made League feel like its own world? Its champions. Every champion in League of Legends represents a different way to play. Some are aggressive, some are defensive, some rely on precision, others on timing. Each one changes how you approach the game. And over time, players didn't just choose characters, they chose identities, a playstyle, a role, a way of thinking. But as the roster expanded, so did the complexity. And that complexity became part of the appeal. As League of Legends grew, it didn't just add content, it expanded its systems. More champions meant more interactions, more strategies, more possible outcomes. And with each update, the game became harder to fully understand. But that wasn't a problem, because players weren't expected to master everything. They were expected to learn over time, to improve gradually, to return and get better. And as more players joined, something else started to form. A shared experience. League of Legends didn't grow in isolation. It grew to its players. Friends introduced friends. Communities formed around roles and champions. Discussions became part of the experience, and slowly the game stopped being just something you played, it became something you talked about, something you followed, something you returned to, not just for the gameplay, but for the connection. And with that momentum, the game reached a turning point. It wasn't just growing anymore, it was becoming established. By the early 2010s, League of Legends had become something larger. Billions of players, constant updates, a stable, evolving system. It wasn't experimental anymore, it was defined. And that's what made its rise different. It didn't explode overnight, it built itself, step by step, update by update, match by match. But reaching that point was only the beginning, because what came next would take it even further. League of Legends didn't rise through spectacle, it rose through structure, through consistency, through understanding what players valued, and building on it. It started as something small, a refinement of an idea, but over time it became something stable, something lasting, and something shared by millions, and this was only the beginning. New case files release every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.